中を助けるふりして本当は見えない弱さから自分を守っていた。でもそれは優しさには変わりないからって逃げてばかりの大人になりそうだ。誰も信じられなくなったとしてもどうしようもない惨めな気持ちになっても無理して前だけを向かなくてもいいんだ。少し休んでまた歩き始めればいいさ。本当に大切なこと忘れかけてたよ。今まで支えられてここにいることじゃ。君にも守りたいものがあるように僕もまた誰かに守られて生きている。孤独なんて勘違いだよ。腹かけて大丈夫だよ。こんなに愛されてる。
Good evening and welcome back to my dwarven fortress of Keskalokil by the sea, where we have been desperately and largely unsuccessfully trying to persuade, excuse me, there's a mosquito there, trying to persuade the dwarves to socialise more in the hope that they'll marry more, in the hope that they'll have more children. I think none of these has yet happened, but okay, they're socialising a bit. See, socialising. We've got quite a lot socialising at the moment, possibly because they've managed to deal with most of their other needs. Well, we can observe that only one dwarf is now in the maximally unhappy state, which I think is pretty good. So she's still quite stressed, mostly because of an unmet need to, or at least in part because of an unmet need to be with her family, of which she has none. So yes, I think she needs to get herself some family. That will help her. Maybe she could get married to Led Aladusim, who only has a dog. Whose rotten corpse is that and why hasn't it been thrown away yet? It hasn't been thrown away yet because no one's doing any work because I'm trying to persuade them to socialise. Still, we are doing our very best to make additional ravens as well. Not that we have any use for ravens, but we like them. And
ravens ever leave the tower of Keskalokil, it will bode something.
Yes, yes.
That whole otter group reminded me of Scott Hammertime, and therefore I just tried to find if there was an MC otter. MC otter picture or whatever. And unfortunately enough, I know some hits felt look otter.
Right. So
Scott's person who's happening with look otter.
Let's dump that skeleton because it's on the railway. So yes, we did encounter, we did successfully manage to give a fairly unremarkable copper spear to the goblins who turned, the enormous mob of goblins who turned up last session, session before last rather. Oh yes, and we're also getting an inordinate number of giant hamsters because, well, if the dwarves aren't going to breed, then the giant hamsters are going to compensate for it. Except that giant hamsters don't live very long. I'm slightly confused by the way the ravens are in the wrong place. I'm just going to check that they are actually meant to be in there. Yeah, they are assigned to the correct place, so at some point someone's going to pick them up and take them out there. The good thing is that the new raven hatchlings are fully tame. So they, unlike the phenomenal quantity of giant hamsters, will never need training, which has the rather odd consequence that we can't disassociate them from their trainers now, because they're fully domesticated. No, not that kind of trainer. Yes, the giant hamsters, on the other hand, do need continuous training or they will go wild. So it's possible that the trained giant hamsters rather may not be a good long-term plan, simply because there will be more and more of them. This giant wild boar piglet is fully tame as well, though its parents aren't. It has a child, but its child has no name. Its child is the tame giant wild boar piglet walking up behind it. So yes, mostly we're kind of and we have a strange mood disaster, don't we?
Isn't that the most common kind?
Don't we?
Most strange moods are successfully dealt with.
Yes, there they are.
One of them has gone bad.
Because they're drawing things that we think we have all of, and so we can't understand why they're not picking the things up. In that they want a bunch of things, all of which ought to be available to them. And there might have been a stockpile set to give to there, which would have been the cloth stockpile, but it's now not set to give to there. I mean, you can mark it not to give to anywhere. I think that was a take from anyway, wasn't it? Well, we've turned it off, whatever it was. Actually, I should have looked up in the wiki a bit about strange moods, shouldn't I? Let's do that now, even though you can't see it. Mostly, the worship, blah blah blah. Yes. So in fortress mode, blah blah blah. So yes, after claiming the workshop, the dwarf will set about collecting the materials. Refer to the demands section. I mean, obviously, I've worked quite a lot of this out myself. So yes, we're in a secretive mood. They are sketching pictures of various things. So stacked cloth might be any of plant cloth, silk cloth, or yarn cloth. So let's read this. Let me just make sure I'm paused, yes. The necessary materials are not available. Forbidden items must be reclaimed, but moody dwarves will ignore settings regarding economic stone. Click on the workshop to receive a series of clues. Hints that stay active for longer than 2 seconds means multiple pieces are required. Each single demand to play for 2 seconds. Yes, I know that. The The mood's primary material will always be shown for only 2 seconds, even if more than one is required. Materials are always fetched in order, so if at least one item has already been retrieved, there's another bit here that needs updating for the current version, and that bit, it will usually be possible to tell what item is required next. Now, a problem here is that it appears to be the first item that is unavailable, and I've just remembered I should set my mouse pointer to extra large so that people can see it, which is not under mouse and touchpad, it's under accessibility. Accessibility to people who aren't me. Seeing cursor size enormous, which will then only happen on some applications. Right. No, what I want is not to muck around forbidding things. The first item demanded is based on the moodable skill being used. Tanner, weavers and clothiers will demand cloth. So that indicates that right, so we should be able to work out which kind of cloth they want based on their own preferences, possibly. Let's see if we can find that. If they like any cloth at all, they don't. They like cryolite tin, black diamond, spears, rings, buckets, crabs for their pincers, the words of the learned poem, the sounds of the zephyr of tresses, and the sight of the Cyclopean festival. When possible, he prefers to consume bat ray, sewer brew, and fonio flour. He absolutely detests toads. So none of those is a cloth, but let's just check his skills. And he is an expert weaver, which is thus his highest moodable skill. Because you can't, probably for the best, you can't have a strange mood that operates a strange mood that uses the skills of the surgeon, bone doctor, diagnostician, or suturer. At least not unless you're a necromancer. Dwarves without a cloth preference will demand a generic type at random. So I think the first item is based on the moodable skill, and the moodable skill is weaving, and therefore he should be demanding cloth. So I'll just check that none of the doctor type skills are moodable. So that makes me think that he's asking for some kind of cloth, and we don't know which. And we've got plenty of every kind of cloth in this stockpile. So I'm wondering, just confirm there isn't any cloth in there that is claimed, and we know that this is 1,000, 2,000. So it's entirely believable. Stacked cloth appears for 2 seconds, which means that it's not that it could be the first one, and since it's a weaver, it should. Their first thing he's asking for should be cloth. So is there some bug that says that cloth in bins can't be used or something? Okay, among the bugs are, if a dwarf dies due to failing to complete an artifact, a memorial made to the dwarf will read that the dwarf did create it despite the failure, and will even list the name of the artifact that never came to be. Right. Oh. Moody Dwarf wants stacked cloths, but all types are available and he's not moving. Which says it might come from a... it might be possible to get them to take material from a hospital if you deassign the hospital. But that this should only really happen if the only cloth available is in a hospital, which it isn't. But just in case, can I just pause that hospital, which is for some reason an unnamed sculpture garden? Will that change anything? No. So yeah, this still doesn't really explain things. Let's try another experiment. Let's disable bins in the cloth stockpile. See if that gives us a load of store items in the cloth stockpile jobs. Doesn't look like it does. I'm going to engage in more silliness in an attempt at breaking things up a bit. I'm going to declare 3 new stockpiles, which I will randomly stick in the corridor here. That one will take only plant cloth. And will not allow bins, and will be set to take from the main cloth stockpile. That's not how you spell cloth, Ben. Then we'll put one next to it that takes only yarn cloth. And also does not allow bins, just in case the bins are a problem. And then we'll put one, oops, no, here. That takes only I do hope. No, we don't have any adamantine cloth, I hope. I will check though, because I am now slightly worried. All silk cloth, no bins, and take from that stockpile. Right, I've got a masterpiece granite door. The giant hamster's a giant hamstering. So, if we're lucky, that's now spawned some tasks to fill those. Not yet. That makes me suspicious that no one else can get... Oh, hang on. It is there is that one bin. Okay, no. Where's all my cloth gone anyway? I'm feeling slightly suspicious of the cloth situation now. Like maybe it is all in the hospital. Like that bin only contains rope reed cloth. That bin is empty. So where has all our cloth gone? Is it all in the hospital? I mean, there is some cloth in the hospital. I mean, we could just abolish the hospital for now. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Might happen to the moment the next Goblin army arrives.
Yes. Actually, strictly, we wouldn't be abolishing the hospital. What we're doing is we're disconnecting all of the... We're just depriving it of all of its land. Will take from anywhere. Right, I've just confirmed we do not know of the existence of any adamantine material of any sort in this fortress. Good, because there is a thing that says if you have adamantine cloth, then they will be prone to asking for it. But
Seems like a very strange substance in the first place.
well, it's the way adamantine. I think adamantine is kind of based on asbestos, in that it comes out as fibres, which you then can do things with. So yeah, there does seem to be something weird going on with cloth here. Because, like, my cloth stockpile... Because, like, I would have thought, given we have a task to move cloth into these three stockpiles, that cloth would be being moved from this stockpile into that. Given that we have it these stockpiles marked as take from... That's a leopard cub, not a stockpile. As marked to... take things from cloth stockpile 32, and there are bins full of cloth in cloth stockpile 32, that would mean that we would be removing cloth from cloth stockpile 32 and putting it into here. But no one's doing that, which makes me think that there's something wrong with our cloth handling. Because, like, we get other store item tasks appearing. What are you hauling into a bin, I wonder? A giant dingo bone bracelet. Right, you're not randomly putting cloth in a bin. Good. Dear, I think this is a dwarf who has insufficient hands and thus can't do very much and is quite unhappy. So I think our cloth situation is interestingly terrible, which is kind of nice to know. Oh, meanwhile, we now have our cistern, indeed, above the training room, sealed, so we could try to start filling it with water. So for that we're going to need a windmill. There are 2 creatures in there, but they can both fly, so my hope is that they'll leave. Just make a cherry wood windmill up there. Oh dear, a stray giant hamster has forgotten its training, because actually we can now turn on the training of giant hamsters again, can't we? This might be a bit tedious. Because we only turned it off to encourage the trainers to work on the ravens. But there are not currently any ravens needing training. Sadly, there isn't a prioritise training this creature button. And there will always be giant hamsters that want training. Maybe I should try any unassigned trainer. Maybe that gives us lower priority training or something. Maybe I should look up what that means. We've got too many giant hamsters. This is silly. I'm going to have to start gelding them, which I think might be a slightly dangerous occupation.
Also, presumably if you've got too many of them already, it might be hard to keep ahead of them.
Yes, especially when all of my dwarves are busy trying to socialise instead.
Well, trying to geld giant hamsters together is a bonding experience.
Yes, I'm sure it is. Still, this will provide plenty of animal training practice. This is a ludicrous number of giant hamsters. Really, we were hoping that the goblins would kill some, but we managed to make the goblins go away. Eventually they'll start dying of old age. Giant hamsters don't live very long. They live about the same amount of time as a normal-sized hamster. Which is good, really, given how they breed. Is that all of them? Almost. Right. So, we do seem to have various weirdnesses about cloth. Well, now the bins full of cloth have vanished. There was a bin full of cloth somewhere here, and it's now gone. Are you carrying it? You're hauling our cloth bin into stockpile number 1. Right, okay. Let's set these up to take from stockpile number 1 as well. No. And see if that gets us anything moved in there. It doesn't look like it, but it certainly looks like there's plenty of cloth lying around somewhere. I assume that your difficulties breathing and standing are not going to stop you sorting this out. Right, here's someone building that windmill. Let's watch them for a bit. Him. You want to see your friends? Do you have any friends? You don't have any friends. This is why you haven't seen your friends for ages.
On the contrary, they've seen all of them just now.
Oh, you got distracted in the middle of building that and are now running away. Does that mean that's got suspended? Yes. Resume. You're not the one who's having a strange mood, are you? Oh, you are. Okay, right. Being stricken by melancholy while having a strange mood is probably fatal. They have gone off to mope about the fact that they couldn't find their cloth and will now die of it. Suspended. Cancelled.
Deficiency in moral fibre.
Yes. Cancelled strange mood. Went insane. I don't believe there is any way to cure a dwarf who is stricken by melancholy. So we essentially now have a population of 41. Which means we're still running at losing about 1 dwarf per siege. It's just that this one was due to an unconventional problem. So, yes, we're hoping that we first still have holding out a hope that that the dwarves will make friends. And we do have like a decent number of socialised jobs going on at any given time, so I'm kind of hopeful about this. I mean, it might turn out that it doesn't work, but... And we've got like some dwarves who are still actually trying to keep the fortress running. In particular, the ones who are already married because, well, they're not having children, but still. Oh, maybe I could have bought... The dwarves of the Treaty of Caves are now quite knowledgeable giant hamster trainers. Yes, yes. So it will take a while for this to propagate to any other fortress. Yes, because unlike the ravens, who we won't have to train very much more, they will just stay trained. There is a distinct danger that we're going to have to keep training giant hamsters forever, or at least until I get bored and geld the lot of them. Why?
You could solve the explosion problem by training them to gild each other.
Stray giant hamster but has given birth to a girl. Well, a female giant hamster anyway.
Small giant hamster.
A small female giant hamster.
Yeah, they're born... Oh, yes, I think they may not be born full size, even though they're born technically adult.
Otherwise, there's some terrifying decompression algorithm going on.
No, you just have hamsters with the Rupert property.
So, yes. Is anyone going to finish building that windmill so we can have some fun with it? Yes, good. Or at least they're going to attempt to do a little more building and then probably get frightened by the wildlife again. Like we have some bliss and some contentment as well as some dejection there, so that's not looking too bad. That looks like a pretty good sequence of memories, really. Yeah, we've completely given up on criminal justice here, so people keep being elated at whatever punishment that was meant to be being delayed because, well, I'm slightly worried we're going to drown this giant hamster.
Didn't you just say you had too many giant hamsters?
Yes, yes. So it's probably okay. I mean, we could try pulling the lever and just dropping the giant hamster into the training room. Not quite sure if that's safe, though. As in, I'm slightly worried that might deconstruct the gear assembly and then it'll all go wrong. Let's just accept drowning the giant hamster if that happens. We'll try not to. So once this is built, it will immediately fill the reservoir with water. And the consequence of that will... And then, once that's done, we'll be able to pull a lever which should simultaneously, if we get this right... There's an argument I should try to get the dwarves out of the way first. Yes. Let us temporarily say... You know this barracks here?
I am aware of it.
How about if no one uses it for a bit? I mean, it might take them a while to leave because they're not being taught. We could tell them to train somewhere else, actually. Let's make sure that there is a barracks that's designated for their training. Right, so all being well, they'll now, at some point, depart that barracks. And head for another one, and thus probably not get drowned when we drop the water in. If I've screwed it up. If I've got it right, of course, they wouldn't get drowned anyway. But like, let's give them slightly more chance to not drown initially, just in case I've made a mess of it. P.S. Where's the person who was building that thing? There. All right, just coming along with the final bit of wood. Slightly worried we started this session with one maximally unhappy dwarf, and we're now up to 3. So this will cause the windmill to start working, I think. There we go. Which will flood that room. Still 3 dwarves in the room below. One thing we sadly can't see is how deep it is directly, except there. The giant hamster isn't drowning yet, but the water isn't maybe not deep enough to drown a giant hamster yet. I hope that a peregrine falcon can just escape. Well, I mean, the giant hamster doesn't appear to be having any difficulties here. It's not marked as drowning. Relations. All giant hamsters' friends and relations. Yes, it should be a rabbit, but it's not. Where's the giant hamster gone? Has it climbed out of the water? Whatever. Right, so that's now filled. Now I would just quite like these dwarves to leave. How about if instead of engaging in individual combat drill here, you went and engaged in individual combat drill in your newly assigned location, eh? Well, we'll wait for them to go before we do anything. Let's not accidentally drown 3 dwarves just because we've screwed things up. I was just thinking that like it's clearly a rather unfortunate tavern that has dead birds lying around in it, but actually the balcony at work has at least 1 dead pigeon on it. So it's perfectly normal for a workplace to have the occasional dead bird. You've grown attached to an iron shield. If you name it, then the goblins will come and ask for it. So don't do that. They'll hear rumours of this awesome shield, which actually isn't all that awesome. Go on, you guys. Leave. Develop a sudden desire for a drink or some food or some sleep or something. You've gone and named your shield. You know what that's going to do. That means the goblins are going to come and ask for it. Pinkbee says, isn't getting rid of a whole siege by handing over 1 mediocre item something you want to encourage? Yes, I suppose so, as long as they're naming mediocre items. I mean, frankly, shields don't really matter what they're made of. So wooden shields are kind of better because they're lighter. They don't last as long, but...
Does it give me a whole new sharp piece of wood. We was hoping dwarves would come and goblins would come and ask them.
So we're still incubating raven eggs, I hope. I should stop bothering to close this really, but it is sometimes useful to know what's going on. All right, yes, that's Sodel Atirog, our animal trainer, who is now being followed around by raven chicks. They still haven't left their room. I'm going to resist the temptation to accidentally drown 3 dwarves. That one should be resumed, just in case someone can shift some more copper to it. Is there something to operate that? Yes, there is. There is somewhere a lever called Goblin Pool Drain. Good. That means we could start filling up the Goblin Pool. Two dwarves doing their very best to get drowned. Excellent. Well, let's stop filling the Goblin Pool anyway, because I'm bored. Don't know if we've actually got anyone who'll come and operate a pump for us, but we'll see. Some actual no job. That's probably good. Still 2 dwarves in the way. Still very little by way of disposing of dead creatures going on, largely because people are doing almost nothing. Someone is working on that bridge though, that's nice. Oh, and someone is coming to operate the pump. Excellent. Maybe. Where are you? All right, I think you've probably just crossed the river. Yes, there you are. Well, we would get rid of some of these goblin bodies, but that requires people to be available. Right, so that's now filling the yeah, we're not going to export cages anyway. Filling the Goblin Pool with water. Which should help with drowning them. If we can ever build the bridge. Oh dear. We have a ghostly axe lord which is toppling statues. We should fix that. I don't really mind about the statue. I do mind about the ghostly axe lord though. Maybe a slight danger that we're excessively efficiently draining this river at the moment. Oh, well, I'm sure it'll be fine. That one's building. That one's building. That one's building. Where is the toppled statue then, eh? It is allegedly there, but that bronze statue, like, is currently a building. As is that one, a bronze statue of chickens. As is that one, a bronze statue of a single chicken. So I can't see any toppled statue. That one's platinum statue, which is also properly constructed. We do have one other bronze statue in the fortress, which is a bronze statue of dwarves. But that one's constructed as well. I don't believe you actually toppled the statue. You might have tried, but you, as far as I can tell, failed. Oh right, we're out of stone, of course, for making slabs from. Oh, we'll do the kind of thing we usually do and just dig out some more rock down here. Make it out of shale this time. Still two dwarves in the wrong barracks. And I'm sure your individual combat skill is doing some good for your talents, but I could, I suppose, take your squad off duty so that you don't even try to train. That might work. Though I'm not sure it would, because you're doing an individual thing, which I think is just a thing that dwarves do when they're bored. Meditate on depravity. How's the goblin pool filling up? Still not full. Yes.
Are goblins shorter than dwarves? And
They're about the same size, I think.
but clothes sized for goblins don't fit dwarves?
No, they do. They're listed as made sized for goblins versus sized for dwarves, but they are actually interchangeable. Right, that is the pumping done. Please stop pumping. Now we just need the bridge over the top of it to be built, and then we can experiment with dropping one dwarf in the wrong place, dropping goblins into it. Obviously that will require some goblins. Why are there giant hamsters in that tree? Sure, that's not going to go well. You know, you've got a couple of kindred, 3, 4 kindred spirits. Can't we push that a little further? Hauling a giant cave swallow egg. I'm not sure we need giant cave swallows as well as ravens. So my hope is that both of these nest boxes are, those 4 eggs and the 3 eggs in the other nest box will all hatch. And that will give us a decent supply of ravens. I mean, they are purely decorative ravens, unlike the jaguars, whose purpose is to eat goblins' faces. What's that running away? Stray mongoose, apparently. Stray mongoose, which is terrified while in combat. I'm not sure those creatures do terrified, really. Also appears to be a terrified giant hamster. Several terrified giant hamsters, who are now going to have to be hauled back to their correct location. Still no migrants, though, despite our best efforts to be attractive. Still the dwarf in the wrong place there. So who is working on the bridge? We could watch them trekking back and forth with carrying copper. They seem to be carrying copper from quite a long way down, which is going to slow this down a bit, because there's like 35 bars of copper needed for this bridge. Oh well. Just be patient. Unfortunately, I don't think now you can see how many items. Oh yes, we can. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Okay, if my memory of 35 is correct, we are actually fairly close to finishing that bridge. It is not a memory I'm very confident in, but I mean, one way we lose giant hamsters, I suppose, is we just stop trying to keep them trained, because I think a wild giant hamster is not a serious problem as long as it doesn't become agitated. So training them and just stopping bothering to train them would actually be a perfectly good way to deal with our giant hamster surplus. I mean, that may just leave us with wild giant hamsters stuck in trees. Oh no, they're out of the tree now. There is a stray giant wild boar running around, but that's fine. Right, so yes. Oh, meanwhile, we should probably turn our hospital back on. To try to fix the strange mood, yes. It's now back to being part of the home of Helms, at least more or less. So now I should be able to select that and go, what have you got in you? And it will go, yes, we have thread and cloth and so forth. Yes, good. And it is, at least in theory, a hospital open to all visitors, not that anyone seems to come in to visit it. Seem to have an excess of chips and plaster bags lying around here. Surely those should be in the hospital. Don't you ever get thirsty? Yes, our melancholy dwarf is refusing to eat or drink, which is, yes, not going to end well. Yes, person building the bridge is bringing another set of copper bars across. So we are getting close to the 35 that I think we need. And this will probably be done before bedtime, and then, well, then we can't really do anything with it until we find some goblins to operate it. And we probably need to tell the dwarves, don't go up there, it's terribly dangerous. Though most of the dwarves can swim. Your route to getting to this thing involves climbing through the trees, does it? I mean, there is a staircase into the trees, so it's not completely mad. Let's just mark the entire bridge as restricted, meaning don't route over there if you can possibly find another way. Pretty much. It's like treat routing over there as costing 20 times what routing over normal ground costs. Right, our swimming barracks is now empty. So I've forbidden the door so that no one can get in. So now the theory is that we pull the new pool fill lever, and that floods that room to a depth of 4 to 5, I think, by virtue of having carefully counted the size of the room above. Don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. Might take a while for someone to decide that it's time to come and pull that lever, but I've tried to make it a priority task.
Yeah, so there's a couple of phases in there. 429 and 526. I don't know. They're up along those or columns of them.
Come along, someone. Aha, is this someone coming to pull the lever? Right, 100 ticks later, or about 5 seconds. Spleesh! So the critical thing is, 1, the water depth is just over 4, and the pump is now not running, and so we're not gaining any additional water. Right, that's good. So now let's see if we put that switch back again. That should close the bridge and start filling it with filling the reservoir again. The slight problem is that it will start the pump and then close the bridge a bit later. So we'll see how much extra water ends up in the room and if it's a dangerous amount. Just so we know what we should do in future. Is it safe to do it this way, or do we have to drain the room before we close the roof? That looks quite dangerous. I mean, not totally so. Technically, the water level is still a bit less than 7, mostly. But yeah, I don't like that. Right, okay, so we should generally drain the room before we close the roof and refill the reservoir. So now let's drain the room. And then we'll... the Forgotten Beast, Usan, has come. That's Korean for umbrella. A giant serpent with lidless eyes. It has 3 broad horns and it squirms and fidgets. Its slate grey scales are jagged and close set. Beware its webs. I mean, that almost seems like a reasonable monster. I think it's already moved out of our sight. Right, and we're now draining the that room again. Of course, we won't be able to drain it to completely dry, so when we next fill it up, it will be 5 to 6 units deep rather than 4 to 5 units deep, which is another reason to be a bit careful when closing the roof. We could, of course, attempt to interlock these 2 levers so that when you close the roof, it drains the room, but that's probably not the most helpful thing either. Good, our bone carver has another cat. Right, so now I think we could safely make that barracks usable by the Veiled Smiths and the Moons of Bolting. And deassign them from this barracks down here. And then once we have a decent number of, we can close that drain again now, can't we? Yes. Yeah, it's not urgent.
Can you call the giant hamsters into a posse to go down and tackle the Forgotten Beast?
No, because giant hamsters won't actually attack anything. We can't train giant hamsters for war. This is part of our problem. Simon asked, can we send the giant hamsters after the Forgotten Beast? We have not forgotten the giant hamsters. Yeah, that seems to be quite an effective Forgotten Beast. Wouldn't want to get into a fight with that one. So yes, that drainage system seems to work okay. So yes, don't know how long it'll take the dwarves. Oh, I need to unlock the door, don't I? That'll make it easier for them to come in. And I had the door locked for safety. But obviously, if we're actually going to expect the dwarves to train in there, we are kind of going to need the door open so they can get in. Right.
It's the star of the west. But it started off as the star of the east, which is one of the west.
Is there still someone building that bridge? No. It's not suspended though. Probably they just had to go off and get a drink or something. Right, so I think now we're just like giant albatrosses are being a problem. Yes, I fear it is indeed their job. They appear to be growing alfalfa. That's nice. So yes, I'm now in a kind of, well, what do we do now mood.
Well, now you've got the goblin pool full of water. Use it at least once to splosh some goblins.
Yes, but
That's not under your control, so I think wait till some show up.
yes, I can't forcibly get the goblins to come here. Also, there will, if they're,
Provoke them by naming many mediocre objects.
yes, I could provoke them by naming many mediocre objects. I need to get some more stone, I think. I mean, we've got some. Hope that someone will just move some of that stone to that stockpile. Right, there is someone in there. Let me just confirm. This is someone who does not yet know how to swim. Who is only a dabbling swimmer. So we could attempt to turn them into a better than dabbling swimmer by locking the door and then pulling this lever. Actually, strictly, we could leave the door unlocked for a bit. If nothing else, that seems to have caused another person to arrive, because it's only necessary to lock the door when the lever actually gets pulled. Right, here comes someone who's about to pull the lever. So can we confirm that both of these are not really swimmers? You're a novice, rusty novice swimmer. You're a dabbling swimmer. Excellent. Lock the doors. You're about to get very wet. Content being fit near a waterfall.
The waterfall was falling on you.
Near as in inside. Right, so this time the water level has stabilised a bit deeper because there was still some water on the floor from last time. Okay, there are meant to be two dwarves in here. Where's the other one? Udib. There is actually somewhere you can climb out of here once you know how to swim. Not quite sure who the other dwarf was because they don't seem to be there anymore. Oh well. Possibly they managed to find the escape route. Oh, I think, did they leave through the door? That shouldn't have been possible. I mean, I suppose we can leave the door unlocked because if they can make it to the door, that's probably by virtue of being able to swim. Ooh, nasty. Slightly worried our chief medical dwarf may not be having fun. So why is there a giant albatross inside the fortress, if there is?
Because it's there.
Our chief medical dwarf does currently not seem to be doing anything very terrible, so, or dangerous. Right, yeah, so you are allowed to leave, but you're going to have to learn to swim if you're going to do so. Is, I think, the theory behind this. So once you can turn yourself into a competent swimmer, you'll be able to get out. I will vaguely watch you so as in the hope that you won't like not drown, die of thirst or something. One might hope that being in a pool of fresh water would make dying of thirst difficult, but you're a dwarf. Right, someone is now back to building the copper bridge again. Good. You are actually, it appears, able to move, despite only being dabbling. So we're probably going to have to send you in there again, because you got out. Where are you going? We briefly went up to visit the windmill that powers the system. You strange person. Right, well, let's drain the water again and then recharge it. Because that seemed to work in that we trapped a dwarf in there in a situation where, as I understand it, they should be able to swim. They should be able to learn to swim. So that's probably helpful. So some water will gush down there shortly. And that should then encourage people to go back and do some more training. So it is a low priority lever pulling job, so it might take a while. So where's our bridge builder? They've got distracted again. Oh, the bridge has got suspended. Unsuspend the bridge.
That sounds dangerous. Right, see you tomorrow.
Right, someone is now coming to pull the drain lever, which means a load of water pours down that tunnel, runs into the pumping system and gets spewed back out into the river again very rapidly. Happily, the river is walled off so that this is reasonably safe. Right, that's drained enough water. We can now shut off. Actually, what we should do is first operate the fill lever to close the roof, because that will leak a bit of water in. So we want the drain to be open while we're doing that. How did you get in there? I think we should remove that ramp. Possibly we should have built a wall in that square, actually. Maybe we should build a wall in that square first. Then we can remove the ramp. Because that ramp is an obvious way to escape from the water. Oh. How did you get bitten by a cave spider? Why was one of those around? Shouldn't they be in the caves? P.S. More giant hamsters. Seb says, washed in from the river? Don't think they can... Well, they shouldn't have been in the river in the first place, and probably can't swim. I mean, a novice swimmer, but that shouldn't be... That's not enough to be able to be a useful swimmer. Very briefly drowning dwarf, that's okay. Probably very happy. Oh no. That's a load of water caused by the synchronization of the filling system being a bit wrong. But now we can block the drain. So yes, that transition is a bit messy in that direction, and does really need the drain to be open at the time that you close the roof, otherwise it puts a load of extra water in because of the way that bridges operate slower than pumps. Possibly we could come up with some way to make this shut off the pump quicker. But I think a bit of procedural controls there will be fine. That one is currently building the bridge because that's got suspended again. Unsuspend. So yes, I think locking the door may help with getting the training done quicker. So the drain is closed. So now we can pull the fill lever again, and the two dwarves in there should then learn to swim a bit more, we hope. So they are Zulban Zonidash, blah blah blah, and Udib Udistgeshud. Right, just in case I need to find them afterwards. I don't seem to be seeing the job cancellations for that bridge. All right, someone's trying to do it. Which is going to involve finding the bit of copper that they're meant to be using. This is going to be a long walk, I won't wait. Or rather, I won't watch. Right, we're about to refill there. So Udib and Zulban are both in there. One of them liked that at least. Right, and now the plan, I think. Okay, Udib is still in there. Oh, Zulban has clambered out there. And as they made it over the wall and escaped, because with sufficient climbing skill you can do that. Only a novice climber actually, but still. Okay, so our problem now is that the dwarves are able to climb out of the pool. And so just climb over the wall and get away from the water without learning very much swimming. Very rusty but skilled climber. So that's kind of annoying. So possibly we need to arrange to sequence things so that the roof can be closed so as to stop the dwarves climbing out. Right, yes, Seb says night night and it is 1 minute past midnight. So we are probably around the point when I should go to bed. Let's unsuspend that task again. And yes, I think we've made some progress. Our new swimming training facility has demonstrated the ways in which it doesn't work. So our next task, as we drain the water back out of it again, has got a toad in it, mind, Our next task, I think, is to work out a way to make it more secure. But until we do that, I think I should say goodnight. So let me save the game here and say goodnight. Good night.